Johnson, and this is Focus on Liberia. Hit it! From Cape Mount to Cape Palmer, Mount Nimba to Atlantic Ocean, Obomi Hills to Boakai, to educate, elevate, and promote. Yeah, focus on Liberia. For Liberia, Liberia. For Liberia, yeah. From Monday to Sunday. From Monday to Sunday. It's focus on Liberia. Talk about home affairs. Hey. In diaspora. Current affairs. Hey. Reliable information. History. Ooh. Talking about culture. Yeah. Politics. Education. Entertainment. Yeah. Business. Sports. Advertisement. Articulation. Focus on Liberia. Focus on Liberia. Focus on Liberia. From Monday to Sunday. Focus on.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Friday Night Debate on Focus on Liberia. My name is Dennis Jar, and we are broadcasting from Atlanta, Georgia. Tonight, we're going to be debating about change. What is change? Change is anything, alteration in a routine. And depending on where you are, which aspect you're talking about, the change can occur many places. In our basic life, in our everyday life, you can change even your bedtime. The time you go to bed, your habits, what you eat, that's change. Okay, so change, if we talk about in science, we talk about changing seasons, processes, chemical, physical changes. In society, we talk about norms, our values, our structures, our movement, technological advancement. You were using iPhone 13, iPhone 3, and all that. In our personal development, your personal growth, shift in your belief. You were Christian before, but now you are Baha'u'llah. All these things are changes. So when it comes to Liberia, we've been hearing about change ever since I was a kid, all the way behind God's back in Dodokan. When the coup took place, they said we were changing. Our eyes are open. And then when Kuangba invaded, he said, I'm going to bring change. I'm going to restore your dignity that was being abused by Samuel Doe. Then came Taylor with his idea of change. Came President Salif with change. Josh Weah with change, and now we have Boakai, Joseph Newman Boakai with his version of change. He said, you cannot give a man's job to a boy. So when President Boakai won, it was all about change for the better. So tonight, Liberia under President Boakai, is it change for the better? Is it change for the worse? Or is business as usual? Let me welcome the folks who are going to debate this issue tonight. I have the unapologetic and unabashed physician who is also the host of On Point right here on Focus on Liberia, Mr. Jerome Gilman. Welcome, Mr. Gilman.
Thank you very much for having me to be on the show with all these distinguished gentlemen. Hopefully someday we're going to have some distinguished ladies here. Thank you.
Thank you. Let me also welcome the host of FOL Marketplace, Business, Finance, and Economic Forum right here on Focus on Liberia, Mr. Gabriel M. Tabito Carter. Welcome, sir.
That is good to be here. Thank you.
Thank you. Let me welcome Mr. Evan Morris. He was first a sympathizer of CDC, a member of CDC, and now we don't know who he is, but he's still leaning CDC. Mr. Morris, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me, Mr. John. I'm a CDC supporter through and through. Thank you.
Thank you. Let me welcome FOL political analyst, Mr. J. Victor Nabi. Welcome, sir.
Hey, Dennis. Thank you for having me. It's good to be here.
And then former the man who are his failed presidential bid, Mr. Benjamin Kofa-Fanien. Welcome, Ben, and you have to turn your phone on sideways so we can have a better picture of the former presidential candidate.
Okay. Thank you for having me here. I'm always glad to be on your show. I really appreciate you and all the hard work you do. I look forward to a vibrant debate with all the other guests you have on the show, and I'm happy to be here.
Thank you. Been a while, Ben. Welcome. I'm glad to see you back. Put your phone on auto rotate, and then
Yeah,
you
put
can
it on
take
auto
forward.
rotate and then turn it around.
Let me welcome for the first time on Focus on Liberia, Mr. James Colley, a computer professional. Welcome, Jimmy.
Thank you so much for having me. I've been watching you for a while now, and I'm so happy to be here.
Thank you. And on behalf of all of us here at Focus on Liberia, I want to welcome you. And I want to present to you this bottle of water to say welcome, feel at home, and let's talk. We want to welcome all our viewers. Okay, he's drinking the water I just gave him. That's good. We want to welcome all our viewers from across the globe. We're going to be looking at, and let me welcome Mr. Jimmy Eastman, another FOL analyst here, joining us from the nation's capital. Welcome, Jimmy.
Thank you, man. Sorry for being late, gentlemen, but I'm looking forward to a great conversation.
Thank you. So, President Boakai, Liberia under President Boakai, is a change. We're going to go through some few things that we're going to go through. And if you are home watching, I want you also to chime in. We're going to be discussing some areas. Communication, the president and his team communicating with the Liberian people. Have we had a change for the better, for worse, or business as usual? We're going to also talk about foreign travels. The president just came home. Papa Nakam. How is it different from before and now? The national budget, cabinet, and we'll talk about his cabinet. We want to talk about competence, integrity, and diversity. Is it a diverse cabinet? Are they competent? We want to look at that. Is there a change for better or for worse? We want to also talk about salaries and benefits, sanitation in and around Monrovia. We want to just concentrate on Monrovia. We have more debt, less debt, or business as usual. We want to look at that. And dealing with our debt. We owing more now. We're paying our debt. We want to look at that. And also dealing with opposition. I want us to start like this. And where is Benjamin Kofa-Fanien? So I want your opening statement. I know we're going to go through this thing one at a time, but I want you to, if you are supporting CDC, say it, whatever party you are supporting, say it, and tell us if the change is for the better, for worse, or business as usual. That's your introduction, so I'll give you 1 minute each. Let me start with Mr. Gaiman.
Well, as usual, we have to speak factually because that's what the mission of this organization requires, that when we are speaking, while we are not 100%, we have to be at least honest. And I will read today the headline from the report from Front Page Africa. It says, Liberia ruling Unity Party rescue train derailing amid corruption allegations from Centel and other credible organizations. And they listed them, and we're going to go through them. So we are not only talking and giving our opinions here, but it's actually based on facts as well. Thank you.
So is it change for the better, for worse, or business as usual?
According to the paper,
I want your view, not the paper. That's somebody's view. What's your take?
No, but a quoted fact. To be fair here, I would want to believe that this is business as usual.
Thank you. Let me go to Mr. Eastman. Your intro. And we want you to declare which side you support, so we know where you're coming from, if possible. Jimmy.
Okay, you know, I see a lot of comments and a lot of.
Ben, you are not able to change that to landscape view, man.
Yes, I'm trying to do that, but it's giving me trouble. Sorry.
Okay, are you using an iPhone? Just swipe down, and you will see your lock with a cycle around it. Just click on that.
All right.
You see that?
1 second.
Yeah, Jimmy, go ahead.
This is going to be our
Yeah,
future
go
president.
ahead, Jimmy. Ben has not been here for a while, so he's kind of little rusty. Go ahead, Jimmy.
Yes, you know, you'll see a lot of isolated developments coming up, like Mr. Wallow, Dr. Wallow, pointing out Ethiopian Airlines flight resumes in Liberia, the acquisition of St. John. But here's why, Mr. Wallow, and you who are PhD, who I expected you to know this. Here is why I do not look at these isolated developments as good.
Jimmy, I don't want to be responding to Wallow now. Is it? Do we have a change for the better, for worse, or business as usual?
Okay, let me land, then I will land and I'll tell you. The time I will know we're changing for better when we focus on the fundamental changes required for a prospering and developing country. The type of economic reform required, the kind of education and skills required, the kind of healthcare reforms required. If we do not start with the fundamentals, all these things will be superficial. So I do not see enough fundamental changes being made at this time.
Therefore,
we're in the same boat until those things come into fruition.
Let me go to Gabriel.
Yeah, Dennis, thank you. I think that is So for me, I will state categorically, I do not support the Unity Party or CDC. I'm an ANC supporter, so I want to state that categorically. So that means I want to be fair here and be neutral in this case. For me, I think to be fair, I think it's too early to determine. Now, we've had some false start, well, not false start, some, but many false starts. The trip here to the United States, the one to South Korea, and the recent one to China, all null and void. You know, you can call those false starts. You can look at the appointments of just bloating the government with people without the corresponding budget to be able to support those people, right? You can look at some of his legal trouble with the appointment of the CBL governor and the firing of the previous one. So you can look at that. But, you know, in all fairness, I think we need to give the president some time. I understand the people around him oversaw themselves as having this technocrats and people who knew their way around government, who could make things happen. And he boasted about that with his 100 days plans, but we have not seen that. However, I think with 9 months in, we need to give him time. Hopefully, I keep saying by the end of the year, he will be able to reset and undo some of this false start that he's had to be able to play a better hand come 2025. But for now, it's yet to be determined. So I will land right on that. Thank you.
Thank you. For Gabriel, it's too soon to tell. Let's go to James. Mr. Colley.
Yes, sir. Thanks so much. First of all, I would like to say I'm apolitical. I'm not for any party in Liberia or for any functional organization in Liberia. However, I'm a Liberian, fully engaged with the Liberian situation and the politics in Liberia. I think listening to my colleagues, I can't say much, but what I would like to say right now, I think there's always this problem in Liberia about competence. And we always stress that. But I think the reason for that is a lot of times when the appointments are made, I don't think they have the full understanding that it's temporary. For example, in the States here, when they hire you, they give you 90 days for most job probational period. And so after the 90 days, you get some assessment made or evaluation to see whether you are competent. And so I've always had problem with being educated with degree and being educated with skill and being educated with experience. And sometimes a lot of us, I have noticed from my observation, a lot of us have the education, but some of us have not even worked in our field. We don't have experience. We have not acquired skills. And because of our connection, we get in these positions, and then we don't have the system of assessment to actually assess us. And so then we have these lapses. And so right now, I am looking at the government. I was critical about the past government. And for this one, I'm also looking at it with my left eye. And there's a lot to talk about. So I can't say much right now. And
so right now, do you think with the change we have now, is it change for the better, for worse, or is same old, same old?
The change right now we have is not measurable. You see, to be able to solve any problem, you have to measure it. And from a professional or technical background, I can tell you it's not measurable.
Thank you. Let me go to Mr. Nabe.
I'm sorry, I was muted there. I would say, like the young people say, a little bit of this and a little bit of that. A little bit of this in terms of business as usual. Look, this government, since it got into office, there are all these investigations that are going on. I mean, we can start from the Armed Forces Day disturbance up to the LDEA, and there is no apparent decision or action taken on any of these. That way, I believe this is business as usual. We know of all the deaths that occurred, several other things that happened under the previous government that never saw closure. So I think I would say I think this president is a little bit better in terms of delivering, however minimally. I mean, around this time, President, we had not brought in anything noticeable, except for the scandal at our own CBL, $100 billion scandal here, $25 million mop up, and then the Ebomov and the Eton loan. But at least this president, he's been busy, and apparently, his travels are beginning to yield some fruit, however minimal. I think the recent report from China, for instance, if what is coming out is to materialize, I think that's better in some sense. As to whether he's better off in terms of performance, you know what? I always say relative to where, yes, but relative to Boakai himself, in terms of expectation, I think this president is performing way worse than I had anticipated. I really believe, and I still believe, there is the capacity to do better. I just don't understand why not. For instance, what is wrong with
I want to conclude on that. You have a minute. Is it change for the better, or worse, or business as usual?
I'll leave it there. I think there's a little bit of business as usual, and
thank you.
In some way worse, and a little bit better.
Mr. Morris, your intro. Right. Let's give it 1 minute.
All right. Thank you, Mr. John. Look, I think this is a political mixed bags of check mix. I think President Boakai is doing better when it comes to the issue of drugs. I think the LDA is doing a better job, a quantifiably better job than President Weah did. I think on the issue of communication, they're doing a slightly better job. And I think when it comes to legislative corruption, they're doing way worse. It's more blatant. It's more right in our face when it comes to legislative engagement from the executive. It's very corrupt. When it comes to freedom, in terms of political freedom in the country, things are there's way more tension between the opposition political party than it was under President Weah. I think he's doing worse in that capacity. And I think when it comes to hearing from our president, like we criticize President Weah, I think slightly better for President Boakai, but he's not communicating with the Liberian people as much as we would like to hear. So I think when you check all of those things together, you come back to the average of more of the same, because they pretty much level out. So they're pretty much more of the same from the previous administration.
Benjamin Kofa Fania.
Yes, The first thing I would like to say thank you for welcoming me here again. And one of the things that bothers me about Liberia is our inability to say the truth. You know, I listen to some of the guests we have on the show, and I see people are being measured. Liberians, for Liberia to transform, we have to be bold to tell our friends the truth. Between George Weah and Joe and what we have now, there has been no
Is it
change.
me or is it breaking in?
I'm saying that what we have now compared to George Weah, there has been no change. There has been absolutely no change. The first thing I heard somebody say we should give uh, more time. Joseph Boakai had 6 long years of George Weah. 6 years. An opposition party is a government in waiting. You know, somebody said, you know, we need time to evaluate the people we hire. As a manager myself, one of the principal requirement of hiring anybody is the first thing is you do a comprehensive background check. You do comprehensive background, and also you try to identify this person's ability to give you results. Then somebody is saying that it's a little bit too early. Joseph Boakai and his people advertise arrest. They advertise that document as their basis of governing Liberia. Why are we making excuses? This is just not working. It is not working. And I think for things to get fixed, we have to look in his eye and tell him, no, you're not doing what you're supposed to do. Let me tell you what hurts me most about this. Even with all this,
Mr. Cody got a mute. Somebody got a mute in the back.
even with all this incompetence that we are experiencing, all this incompetence, Joseph Boakai and his people, they are getting paid. I will tell you this, the last thing I want to say here in my intro. He just took over 60 people to Indonesia, then China, and someplace else. You know how much that costs Liberia? We have food insecurity. Our young people have no job. The country is not even.
So, Ben, I want you to conclude on this. I want you to conclude on this. If we have a change, or you say no change at all?
We have no change. What we have now is a near total failure. There's no change.
Let me go to Dr. Clarence Pearson.
Thank you, Dennis. I just want to say hi to all my fellow panelists, esteemed panelists. It's a pleasure being on the show with you tonight, and to our viewers out there. Dennis, listen, there's nothing to compare here. I think, and I want to be clear, like you try to get us to be clear. I support
Mr. Colley, please mute your phone if you are not talking. Thank you.
I support Mr. Alexander Cummings. So obviously, I'm with the ANC, but it doesn't matter to me which party I'm with right now. The facts are there, you know. I'm one of those who believe that I did not elect a president. I do not go to the polls to elect a president to come and try and do try and error, or to go there and try to find a footing. The office of the president is the highest office in the land. You don't go there to go practice how to lead. You go there with the qualification, the requisite skills to lead. So when I look back, I think the past 9 months that so far we've seen, President Boakai has not delivered anything. Everything has either been maybe something he signed and hoping to get it to achieve itself, like the war crimes court stuff that went into a hairwire and we're trying to get it fixed. The asset recovery team went into hairwire, trying to get it fixed. Not only that, but we saw the whole CBL rather, the Central Bank of Liberia, that had a whole scandal there, and he tried to replace people that wanted to put corrupt people there as well. And now we see them coming with packages from overseas with Liberia overseas with MOUs and memorandum of understanding and commitments, only to go and show resemblance to the 285 yellow machines that have never left the barracks. Our AFL, they're mining some of the machines. That's foolishness. That's not leadership.
So you think it's changed for the best?
Listen, this is business as worse. Business at its worst. I won't say business as usual. I say business at its worst. And I think if George Manning were in office right now, even though I did not support him for the second term in office, but I think if you are in power today, he would have done far better than what we see President Boakai is doing. And that's so sad for the expectation that we have.
Just to be clear, you supported George Weah in the first term. Is that what you're saying?
Alexander Benedict Cummings, Mr. Cummings.
For the first 2017.
No, I did not vote in 2017.
No, he mean this going election.
This going elections. We're talking about this going
Oh,
election.
in the second round. Well, he said second term, so I thought, all right. So let's go one by one now. Let's start with communication. I want to go to Mr. Colley. When it comes to communication, both the president's office, the government, how's the communication when it comes to communicating with the Liberian people? Same old, same old? Is it worse or better?
I think it's it's really difficult to speak on communication because I'm trying to figure it out. Listening to everybody is worse, is good, is bad, and trying to figure out what is the yardstick. What do we actually consider better, and what do we consider worse? And when it comes to communication, I have always wondered why we have Ministry of Communication. And then we also expect the president. I really don't understand why we have Ministry. And people on this platform know better. They will educate. Maybe they will comment on it. I don't get it. Because communication nowadays. What was that?
We don't have Ministry of Communication. We have Ministry of Information. That's what you mean?
Information. I'm sorry. Thanks for correcting me. Ministry of Information. And so it makes it difficult to really, because there's a way the Liberian people communicate. We have to understand the culture. How do we communicate? First of all, when you look at it, the data system that we have in Liberia, it's very horrible and terrible. It doesn't help in any way to communicate. Even the students can't even research online. I have a few nephews and nieces. I mean, for example, I had one of them once. I was talking to her and I said, "What did you learn today?" She said, "I learned economics." I said, "What did you learn in economics?" She said, "I learned microeconomics and macro." I said, "What do you call micro?" She says, "Micro." I said, "No. In that case, I would say micro and macro." She said, "No, it's micro." And so we went back and forth. I said, "Can Google help us? Let's look at the pronunciation." And then Google said MAC macro, MIC micro. Then I said, "Are you convinced?" She said, "No, the teacher told us micro." So small little things like that is difficult for even students to get online to connect globally. So when we talk about communication, I don't know what lingo we have to decipher to get to the Liberian people. How do we?
I'm talking about the president communicating with the Liberian people or the president's office.
And that's what I'm confused about. What's the conduit? How does he communicate? Speech or something? So I don't know if in that case I haven't heard him giving any speech, and I haven't heard his ADK or support staff giving any speech. I haven't seen anything at the executive mansion. I don't know. They have a website projected as a voice or audio or video. I haven't seen anything. And then
they have a website.
So that gives you your conclusion then.
Huh?
No, conclude so we can go to the next.
Yeah.
So when it comes to a conclusion, when you compare his communication with the previous government, how is it to you? Same, better, or worse?
I think it's similar. I won't say same, it's similar because I don't know when we are used to communicate, and I don't know Boakai's agenda or program for communication when he's supposed to communicate. So it's similar. It's just dormant.
Thank you. Gabriel, let's go to communication.
Yeah, thank you. So I will be brief on this. I think probably this is one of the areas in which this administration is failing again. And again, it goes back to what I said earlier. They pitch themselves as these supposedly technocrats, these people who've been around power, who know their way around power, came in, and everything has been, we have to find out on social media. Somebody will post something before we hear about it. There are not consistent press briefing. We have, like you guys said, the Ministry of Information that's supposed to be the channel in which the president communicates. That hasn't been leveraged.
They are having Mika briefing every Tuesday and Thursday. We have the press secretary is talking, and so on and so forth. So go ahead.
No, I mean, from in terms of the some of the policy issues that relates to the country. That's what I mean. Appointments. Everybody knows about the appointments that come out and such. I expect that to be coming out and saying, "Hey, I'm doing such and such," without giving the reason behind it. Perfect example: the trip that just happened to China. I or maybe all of us here would have expected a basic, maybe 10 or 15-minute press briefing. This is what the president is going. He's going to do such and such, try to, get some commitment from such and such. On his way back or when he lands in the country, communicate that as well. So at least you get people to understand the strategy and the method in which your policy is going in, as opposed to people, you come out here and do 5 minutes or whatever press briefing without much detail to what you're articulating. And I think if you are right about what you just mentioned, then this is something they just started to do because we've been complaining about this. But I still think they need to do more than they're currently doing.
Okay. So this is not in a vacuum. We are comparing with the past government, right? Or the past administration, sorry. So in terms of that, is it better now? Is it worse, or is it same old?
To the level at which they're doing it now, I would say it's better than the previous. Correct. But I don't think the yardstick should be the previous government because they were at bottom to the bottom.
That's what I want to do tonight. I want to compare with the previous government because there's no way. I mean, we can't go back maybe to Daniel B1.
Let me say this, right? You cannot take somebody. You can't compare somebody to a student who come in a class and say, "I will do all these people. I'm the better student in this class," to the person who's scoring 50% all the time. You can't do that, right? If I'm comparing you, you come in a class and tell me, "Oh, I am the best student in this class."
But the students scoring 50, that's their opinion. Some people don't believe that. But let me go to Victor. Right. Victor, let's talk about communication. You're a teacher, so you know a thing or two.
So I think the relative to the immediate past government, I think this government is doing a much better job of putting out there what is happening. This president, as you have already indicated, Dennis, they have their regular, I think Tuesday and Thursday, whatever. They have a regular briefings, from the executive mansion. The Ministry of Information also brings in various heads of agencies to come in and give their briefing. We know the CSA director makes very, very maximum use of that. And then the president himself, when he returns, he will usually call a meeting, either at the church or so, and tell us, what happened on the trip. So in that way, I think they're doing much better. President, we are never the end of this until late into his term, when he started delivering his messages, and throwing jabs at opposition members from his church, from his pulpit. Basically, that's the only way the past president talked to us. The only thing I would say, though, about this current government is they need to synchronize their messaging, Oftentimes, the press secretary will be saying something different, and the minister of information will be saying something. And the president himself will come and say something entirely different. I mean, the last trip to Korea is a case in point. They came back with several pieces of information released by the press secretary of memorandum here, I think 7 or so or whatever. The Minister of Information came out and contradicted that. The president himself came out and contradicted both of them. Same thing here with the president's trip to China. The president was still in China when the news was out that a memorandum of commitment for $3+ billion had been signed. The Chinese themselves were on tape as saying a memorandum of understanding. The president came back and said absolutely nothing about it. So I think they need to do a much better job with synchronizing their talking point. But notwithstanding, I think they're doing a better job of communicating with the people. Yes, the president himself has not done, I don't think he's done a press conference where he will take questions from the press. I think they need to do something like that. But relative to the immediate past government, I think they're doing a better job.
Dr. Pearson, what's your take on the comparison of communication?
When I sit and listen to a lot of my esteemed panelists, what I hear is they're talking, people talking. I don't see communication. From a professional standpoint, communication has certain components. First of all, you got to have clarity of information. what is the clarity of information being provided to the Liberian people when it comes to the day-to-day running of the government of Liberia? It's not there. People get up and talk. Even the regular press briefing, your information minister cleans up on the pulpit and calls people up and gave a lot of sarcastic remarks, and you call it communication. That's not communication. That just, we call that cheek. In Liberia, we call it, you're giving the person cheek. Besides that, we got access to information. Communication has to include access to information. You can get up and talk, President Brian, get up and talk all day. When you go back home, after you finish talking all the press briefing and thing, what access to information do the Liberian people have? Zero. You must say they don't even have access to information up to the day. We can't even tell you how many person the president ready to travel with. We cannot even tell you how much each individual making in government when it comes to the salary until somebody leak it. Another thing about communication is the credibility of the information. And my esteemed brother Nangwe saying it yet. Yellow machine came out, president said different thing, Mamaka Benedict said different thing, Kula Fafana said different thing, then the information minister comes over and said different thing. Same thing just happened recently. That's not communication. We don't go to coordination. Who's coordinating the information of the government? They said Eugene Fagon, who gets and do Facebook post because he's serving as the MD at
So Dr. Pearson, how does that compare to the previous administration?
Listen, let me say, I know there are people out there who will want to justify all of their wrongful and lies and exaggeration about how bad the last government was. Even though I campaign against the last government, but President Boakai has shown me zero expertise. His government has shown zero performance that I can grade yet. And I can say to you, the past government performed better when it came to communication, with the exception of the fact that anybody here will say maybe President we did not say much, but I can tell you for a fact we have access to information, and that's what we're using to critique them.
Right. So
let me just remind Dr. Pearson.
No, hold on, Dr. Pearson. I want to be clear. You are saying when it comes to communication, right? The previous government is better. Yes or no?
Exactly.
That's what I'm saying, and I stand by it. Anybody who wants to exaggerate the past government performance, and because Joseph Boakai is failing, don't want to accept that
you answer my question. Let me go to Ben.
Making mistake.
Thank you, Ben. When it comes to communication, better, worse, or business as usual?
Well, I would say worse and incomparable. The first thing is I want to stress it. Let me emphasize this. Comparing anything to the CDC administration would be a disservice to Liberia. George Weah was the most incompetent president ever. Incompetent and corrupt.
But he was president, so we have to compare, please.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So, that's what I'm saying. The comparison does a disservice to Liberia. It does a total disservice, because what happened is that George Weah, he's not one of our best and brightest in terms of exemplary leadership. So it's just wrong. But let me come back to communication.
No, Ben, I want to just
I'm coming to communication.
Because we have to compare. These are two presidents.
I do understand, but the comparison does a disservice to the country. It does a disservice because we are comparing against where there is no bar. The bar is too low. There's no bar there. So it does a disservice to Liberia. But let me come to communication. Communication is a critical element of leadership. It's one of the principal manner through which you engage the people you lead. We have had total disaster in terms of this administration communication regime. I mean, we have like the last guest just said, people contradicting each other.
Let me stop you again. Hold on, Ben. The goal here is not to critique Boakai's communication in a vacuum.
Yes.
Anytime you say this is disaster, I want you to end it with compared to George Weah.
No, let me say this. I would not end it.
I don't just want you to critique Boakai or critique Weah.
I understand. I cannot say it because George Weah was too incompetent, and I know what are standards in terms of communication.
So George Weah was worse. That's what you are saying.
Weah was the worst thing that happened to Liberia.
Okay, that's your view. Go ahead, conclude.
So when you see, we have a basis in terms of how an administration communicates with the people that they lead. I will just make one key point. somebody said it earlier, but I want to re-emphasize it. On the yellow machines, up to today's date, we don't know how many exact numbers came in. Similarly, they just came from their trip to Asia. We don't know today how many people were on that trip. You must be transparent. You must be open. And we are getting total mismanagement and disorganization from this administration. Thank you.
Thank you. Let me go to others. Communication.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Ja. On the communication, overall, I would think that President Boakai's administration is doing better. I'll even go as far to say doing a lot better. On the issue of clarity, I would say it's more of the same. I think when Kola Fufana took over, she made it, she made a big spectacle that she was going to avail herself to the different media platforms for clarity on issues, especially dealing with the presidency. And I don't think she's done a good job of that. I think when they come back from some of these trips, or even before they go on the trip, they're not telling us their intention, the reason for the trip. They're not really giving us detail in terms of the itinerary, who's all going to be on this trip with the president and what's their purpose. So I think in an idealistic world, we'll want these things to be, communicated to us. But I don't know if there's ever been a time in Liberian history where these things have been done this way. Maybe I'm too young to, remember that far back. But I think overall, in terms of communication, the fact that they have a regular schedule, press briefing, that's a great thing. Like Mr. Nambo said, I think the CSA manager is ready, the CSA director is ready to start of those briefings. He really comes there and he's articulate, he really states his intent. And also, I think the fact that they don't avail themselves to a platform like ours, FOL, which is independent, it's not ran by a corrupt crook, it's not ran by anybody who is in government, it's independent. They should be giving us at least one visit a month to let us know what's going on in the country. It's probably the most balanced platform that is not partisan anyway. We have partisan panelists, but the host of this network is not partisan. So I think they're filling the Liberian people in terms of disseminating information and clarifying those things that is happening in the government. And I'll give them one little advice, if it's possible. Develop an app. Develop an executive app where you can have all the information there, where we can download it from the app, the Apple Store or the Google Store. You won't bring Starlink from Elon Musk in the country. You're able to develop an app, a government app that every Liberian can download on their smartphone and be able to get news at their fingertip from the government mouse itself. That's one idea you guys should look into. Develop an app and you can pack all of the news from these different agencies and from the executive branch itself so that Liberians can have it at their fingertip and can be in touch with the information from the government directly. So I think overall communication is better, but in terms of clarity, not so good, more of the same. Thank you.
Mr. Gaiman, let's talk communication here.
The communication arm of this government is terrible. Compared to President Weah. I remember Mr. Toby, the young man called Toby, beyond the Ministry of Information, will go live everywhere the president went, give you the itinerary, who's going to be there, what is it they're going to do. All of those things were available. Then on Tuesdays, the McCarthy you're talking about, under President Weah, it was done. Every Tuesday or Thursday, we used to go out there and listen to the information. This time around, it is strictly, when you listen to Geraldine Pierre, whatever his name is, when you listen to Geraldine Pierre is strictly propagandist.
Jeremilik.
Okay, Geraldine Pierre. Well, let me say, just Mr. Pierre. Mr. Pierre is strictly a propagandist. Like he went over there, instead of addressing issue, he is throwing jabs, in some instances, insulting folks. And the objective of communication is to get the point across, to communicate with your audience. As you can see, there were times that there were press releases released that XYZ have been nominated and the person is going to be confirmed. Then someone comes out and says, there's a new updated press release, disregard the previous press release. Confusion everywhere. For instance, the buses that were coming, that they went to Ghana and they brought those buses in front of the executive mansion and they took photographs of them and they published it and they said this was happening and nothing happened. The presidential folks were doing something different. So the communication is terrible. And if you saw Joseph Boakai reading or attempted to read yesterday, it was pathetic. Okay, so here we are.
Compared to where?
Yeah, compared to compared to where this was even worse. I have never seen. This is what happened to Joe Biden in this country when he froze on TV. That's what happened to Joseph Boakai yesterday. Could not read a simple line. It is
Mr. Game, at least the puppet or President Ware is pretty young.
No.
Let's make that comparison.
Listen.
Thank you. I got your point. I want to go to Jimmy.
We didn't hire old men. We hire a competent man.
Jimmy, let's talk about communication.
Okay, I'm trying to unmute. Okay. You know, Mr. Ja, one of the objectives of this panel is this platform is to educate. So if we're going to tell people, we need to first let people understand what good communication is and what good presidential communication is. Okay, you want to communicate effectively to the public to build trust, to provide clarity on policies, to foster a sense of transparency. Those are some of the fundamental things you want to do. To do that, you have to have consistency. One of the panelists mentioned there has been, I think it was Mr. Gaiman, there has been lack of consistency in some of their communication. One person says this, the other person says the Kula Fofana will come of this, the deputy for President Affairs will come and say this. There's a lack of consistency, clarity. We need to know who is sponsoring these loans, what kind of negotiation, how can these things be unclear? All right. We also would appreciate multiple channels of communications as well, not just it coming from only one sole source. So if we compare the two, I would say we have more noise coming from this administration, definitely more than the past administration. But how effective has it been? We do not have the transparency.
You said more noise. You said noise coming from this.
Yes. Okay. You're an IT man. When we talk about information, if it doesn't make sense, it's just noise.
Even in music. So compare that.
Jibber jabber.
Compare that to the previous administration. Was it also noise or nothing?
The last group had a less communication
or less noise.
And less noise. They had less. But the idea is, in the beginning, they were a little bit clumsy with information, with the money getting lost from the bank, this million. But later on, we noticed that there was a sole source of information if you were to get any. This administration has a press secretary who's very active, very, very active. I agree with the Minister of Information. He's more of a propagandist than a Minister of Information. But what do you expect? This is how he got the position.
If you compare that to Fagon under the CDC government, will you say more of the same or worse?
Legend who ran it, not Fagon.
Fagon was not Minister of Information.
Legend who ran it.
Fagon was the one talking. Eugene Number was not talking.
He was a deputy to the Minister of.
So he was propagandist.
Ledger who Rennie was the minister proper, Mr. Ja. Let's get that right. Yeah, Fagon was his deputy.
Ledger who Rennie was what the last 2 years?
Ledger was succeeded Number Eugene.
Well, let me tell you. Yeah, it's very curious that you asked about Ledger Who, because Ledger Who.
I want to talk about. We're going to talk about.
He's a trained journalist. He's a trained journalist. What happened with that administration? He felt constrained. It was very odd. I'm surprised he didn't lose his job, because he couldn't. He said he didn't have access to the president. And
he was not even getting paid. But thank you, Jimmy. I got your point. I want us to move to the next. And this time, we're going to take two at a time. So if I ask you for comment, I'm going to ask somebody else something else so that we can get through all those that we listed, right? I'll start with Victor this time. Foreign travel. Let's compare it. Going for foreign travel, let's look at the size of the delegate, the information coming out about the travel, what they are going there for, the message they are articulating, what we're getting as a result of this travel, the return on investment. Let's talk foreign travel, Mr. Nabe.
Yeah, I think the foreign travels of this president, I think he has an edge again over President Weah in terms of the returns on the travel. But in many ways, he is perpetuating the same as the CDC. I think the size of the delegation, I don't understand why. Two, I think they still struggle with preparation. I'm not at the meetings, but the number of trips that the president has made before he's beginning to attract something, I think suggests to all of us that the delivery has not been maximal. But notwithstanding, I think this president is bringing back a little bit of the bacon than President Weah did. I mean, President Weah went to this very China that this president is coming from. He brought back nothing. Spent over $300,000 on that trip. He brought back nothing, absolutely nothing. And so this president, 35 million or whatever it is over a period of time compared to nothing. I think that's a lot. That's a lot. Are they blowing a lot of smoke screen? Also, smoke screen from these trips? Absolutely. I think they themselves they are propagandizing these trips because the president was there, and some of the surrogates were talking about, they're late, the conference and bringing back 3 billion and all of that. But yes, I think this president is doing much better. I hope you will reduce the size of the of the delegations and prepare better and hopefully maximize these trips. But in terms of accomplishments and returns on these trips, I think he's doing a better job than President
How
Weah.
about transparency? Who's going? What's getting?
Well, they suffer with that. I think they're doing a much better job at it, even though I don't think they're at maximum yet, but I think they're doing a better job. At least they're publishing some listing, and then of course we know there are other people who are unlisted. I don't think we got these kind of listings from President Weah. I doubt it. I'm not
Thank
sure.
you.
Yeah.
And Jimmy, there's Tabina Cole say she will take noise over definite silence. Let me go to you, Mr. Gamer, on the foreign travel.
I think
How do both compare?
I think my brother Victor Namwe is either forgetting or decided to ignore when the president we are took over. They couldn't make payroll. I know his first trip was to France, where he got $10 million towards the budgetary support. And other presidents, other trip came in. So obviously he didn't do that. When you're talking about this particular administration, Joseph Weger have not brought home anything from either one of the trips. Mr. Jahir is the CEO of this great organization. If you talk to him now, whether he has downloaded any of the MOUs or MOC or whatever it is, if any journalist has a copy that we can look at, then you can call me tomorrow. There's a snow mountain in Grand Bassa County that I want to sell you. There is no journalist, no information, nobody in the media space, nobody, even people are filing information. What they call it?
Freedom.
Freedom of Information Act, and they are getting stonewalled. There is nothing here for you to look at. Nothing. Victor Name, if you had an MOU from China, from Indonesia, from Ghana, where he went first, Nigeria, wherever he has been, if you have a copy, then I might be on a rock.
I don't have the MOU, Jerome, but there are being independent reportings of what happened.
No. We're talking about
I'm talking about Reuters and other independent press reports.
Listen, we are talking about. I want the information. Do you have a copy of the MOU to see what's in there?
No, I don't.
Okay, we don't have nobody.
And it's too early for us to see the actual money.
No. We're not talking about the actual. I'm talking about just the document for you to have a copy of the document.
Let me go to Mr. Colley on the foreign travel. How do we compare?
I don't have much to offer as to comparison, but I'm I'm listening and learning as well. And I guess what I would say is that what is involved, we're talking about MOU, what is in there? And let's say we have something that has to do with contracts or human development or infrastructure development. What is the human capital that we have that we can depend on to say these people have skills? You know, the reason why I'm saying this because if you go to people country and you get what is MOU or whatever you get, chances are they will create jobs for their people. And China is one place known for that. They are, I don't want to say overpopulated, but I remember, I think it was during Ellen time. I was in Liberia, but you can correct me for a lot of you that have lived there for the longest. There were Chinese. I'm not trying to say Chinese in any way to be negative. Bear with me. I hate calling, ethnic city here, but there were Chinese all over the streets selling pills, and I don't know how they ended up in Liberia. They were all over the place. And I remember at some point it said Ellie had to say, nah, you guys, it's just after war, people trying to, find their way. So you guys, if you can give us a little chance and leave. So all of these things about MOU and contract is very critical to our country besides the debt side of it. So if you go and bring a package, who is looking at that package and how does the Liberian populace benefit from that? What is in it? And prioritizing what do we need right now? You know, I would say this, and I just let everybody, and I would learn from you. I'm not trying to promote anything. When I was at Microsoft, one of the things that I learned there was whenever you pick up a service request, you have to scope it. You have to scope that service request. It was the requirement. And that was to avoid scope creep because Microsoft is a software company. And so we don't want you provide a service request for software and then when we're working on it, it comes and says, my printer has problem. You bring hardware in. That's scope creep. So we send it back to you to scope it, or we scope it for you and tell you, this is what you expect us to do, correct? Can you sign off on this? And then you sign off on it. Good. And so when I'm working on your system, whether in London or Malta, Italy, you cannot obstruct because you already signed on the agreement. You made an agreement that this is what I'm supposed to do. So a lot of these things are very important. And that's the reason why I was talking about measuring stuff. So when you just leave and go to people's country, whoever sits behind door, many of you are right. We don't know who sat there, what package to give them, and whether it's about education, we have LU, construction engineering there, this, that. How you expect people to construct? So you're going to bring a construction package to build something, and who's going to come build them? It's people from China. So you don't have the capacity. You don't have, you're not even engaged in the diaspora to say who in this capacity can lend us, his or her skill. None of that is.
So, Mr. Colley, was the previous administration doing that?
And that's the thing about everything else that we talk about, Liberia is kind of like hard to say. It's upside down. No, they were not doing that. I followed through.
Thank you. So Simbo. Okay, let's go to the national budget. Let me bring in Gabriel. We want to compare, right? The way President Weah had his first budget, and now this government has this administration had their first budget. Let's do the comparison when it comes to their priorities, when it comes to the process, and everything else.
Dennis, thank you again. I think, and I think Ben said this as well, by just comparing to both administration, we're literally, it's like really trying to take a high schooler and compare them to somebody who's already in a PhD, supposedly, right? You cannot do that. In every context, that high schooler will have no comparison. There's no, in terms of the academic rigor, it won't be there. And the reason why I say this is because this administration pitched themselves as the de facto, people that understood government.
That's the
right?
politics
So
of it.
trying to
That's how you win
compare them,
election.
huh?
I said that's the politics of it. That's they wanted to win election,
But
but we want to,
that's politics, and then you have to take away the politics and
I
look
don't
at
I don't want
reality.
to say one is in high school and the other one has PhD, right?
Yeah,
Both of
that's
them,
offensive. Don't do that.
yeah, both of them are president, right? So we want to compare the two presidents. How because these people, the previous administration ran the government for the country for 6 years. They have budget, so we want to compare without even thinking that one group is better or worse than is in high school and the other one is in
So let me
PhD.
put it this way. Let me put it
Okay.
this way. I think I think from forget the politics. Let's be realistic here. From what we saw in the Weah administration and what we're seeing in this current administration, there is, from what I've seen in the budget so far, in terms of what was allocated to the investments, it is less than what we are allocated for the investment to begin with, right? And I think we have to get out of this habit where we just think, okay, we put a minister of finance here. We don't want paper and pen pusher. We want somebody who can be innovative. So if I appoint you at the budget as a minister of finance, then I'm not just pushing you there to create a budget every year and submit it and have it signed. That's not your job. Your job is to tweak the budget to meet the policy to say, hey, I'm able to cut here. These are recommendations to make this budget work for the citizen. That's what I'm putting you there for. Or else I would just be putting in you as a paper and pen pusher, somebody who would just take a budget, bring it to the president, and have it signed. So what do I mean by that? This is what we had in the previous administration. And this is exactly the same process we're having in this
So it's
administration.
business as usual.
We just appointed the, what is it? I think it was Gafwan as the Minister of Finance. What is he going to do differently that wasn't being done in the previous administration, right? We come out of as a post-war country, our budget is supposed to reflect the ideals, the ambition of the country in its entirety. But look at the budget. We just passed it and it's getting recast again. Right? It's getting recast, meaning there is shortfalls that we have to make tweaks to make it work. Yet still, we just talk about foreign travel. We send 60 people to China, right? Yet we are spending $45,000 for each representative to buy vehicles. We have fuel subsidies. How would you be spending that kind of money and then take yourself to go begging other people's country? So for me, I think politics, you can pitch however you want to pitch politics and say you would do this and do that. When you come in, what you will do, people will see your intention and they will grade you on that intention. And for what I've seen so far, from what I've seen from the budget and what I've seen from the previous government budget, there is nothing intentional about that budget. There is nothing practical about that budget. And there is nothing that we're going to see different from what the previous administration did. This is just politics. And for me, that's why I don't like playing politics. We can talk about the politics, but we have to be realistic with what we're seeing. So thank you.
Thank you. Dr. Pearson, let's look at the budget. Same old, worse, or business as usual?
The worst business ever when it comes to budget in Liberia. Let me tell you why. Compared to Weah's budget. When Madam Ellen took over, we did come out of war. So it's understandable, right? We came out of crisis. So majority of our budget was supported by our donor partners. And then Madam Ellen and President Boakai took 12 years, all right, in power. And they couldn't get that budget over $500 million. And if they even went to $600 million or close to $600 million, there were multiple budget shortfalls. And majority of our budget was supported by donor funds, not by revenue generated in the country. President Weah took over when Omni was leaving. Major NGOs were shutting down. They were phasing out and stuff like that. A lot of our inflow of high currency was bleeding at the time, and yet and still, the Weah administration was able to raise local revenue, a revenue-driven budget up to $700 million. And now one day we heard about budget shortfall, like we heard multiple times.
Right.
Fast No, I come in.
No budget shortfort.
Yeah, there was budget shortfalls. There was budget shortfalls.
Maybe
Americana was named Mr. Shortfall. What are you talking about?
Americana will honor Joseph
No,
Boakai.
he talking about we are there was budget shortfalls also.
There was shortfall.
Dennis, we're comparing here.
No, sorry.
Yeah,
I mean,
and then fast forward, maybe President Boakai would say he was not in control at the time. Was that a big excuse? It was Ellie who was leading, was not leading, was a parked car, right? A parked race car. He took over office. The first time in the Republic of Liberia, we did not get our national budget until the second quarter of the fiscal year. And less than 3 months after the budget was even passed, after that delay, they came back for recast. And not only came back for recast, but they fingered the budget. And President Boakai named within the finger of the budget by providing some inputs as wanting to make changes in the budget when the budget had already been signed into law. It's been investigated, but we have the facts. Now let me push it even further. Not only that, but he recast the national budget, which has less than 5% of direct development inputs, and cut down on education, cut down on health, cut down on how you call it that? Another key indicator I just slipped my mind, but
the war on Kush.
Yeah,
the war on drugs, right?
Which of course he has declared national emergency. So what are we talking here? You know, I know some of us want to cover up our high praise of this young man. I will call him young because he get past 79. He's just stick on 79. You know, I know we don't want to go back on our high praise for this 79-year-old young man. But the facts are there.
Let's leave that age business. Let's talk.
It's the worst performance of any financial comparison we can ever make.
Thank you.
It's sad. It's very sad.
Thank you. Let me go to Mr. Morris, the CDC supporter.
Yeah, Mr. John, thank you. Look, on this issue of the budget, I think CDC wins hands down, and that's almost by default. And the reason I say this is because President Boakai has had a false start when it comes to his Minister of Finance, who was pretty much inactive for the first 5 months or so of this government, you know, because he had an illness, as he said. So the president was hamstrung on trying to find a functioning finance minister. And then he made another blunder when he put in a patsy, a pushover in Anthony Myers, who admitted that the president told him, or somebody from the executive told him to add certain things in the budget, and he did it at that whim, you know, on a whim, knowing that it's illegal. At least he should have known that was illegal. It wasn't with the, you know, with the consent of the legislature. So he did something blatantly illegal. He couldn't stand up to the president and let him know that he couldn't do that. It was illegal for him to go there and change that budget. So now you have the financial wizard, the man from Lofa County, who is coming to really, reform the finance ministry. And to be honest with you, as a Sidician, I think I have high hopes for Gaffon. I think he's a smart guy. I think maybe the next year, when it's time for budget forecast and how the finance ministry do, we can give a clear, a concise, critique. But I think just based on the first 8 months, has been a lot of false starts for the president. He has been hamstrung by the fact that he had a non-functioning finance minister, put in somebody who was a patsy, who was maybe trying to audition for the main job, the proper job, and he did something very much illegal. And the fact that he's being kept on as the deputy to Gaffon, I think is abominable. I think the legislature need to call him in for allowing that tampering with the budget, and maybe fire him or give him a vote of no confidence, because somebody who have broken the law blatantly once can be sure he would do it again if he's ever under pressure. So I think he needs to get out of the Ministry of Finance and put somebody else there as his deputy, as Gaffon deputy. But like everybody have said here, President, we are demonstrably his administration, they grew the budget. Year on, they grew the budget. It's not an easy thing for Liberia. Like I think Dr. Pearson said, Ellen was a paper tiger. You know, she was getting a lot of donor funds that was propping up her government in the finance ministry. But President Weah, for the first time, was working on the revenue of the country alone, and barely any donor funds was coming in. I'm sure some was coming in, but most of that money was domestic revenues that was raised, and it was impressive. I think President Boakai can do better, but at least for this first year in the first budget casting, he definitely fell short because the process has been chaotic, and the ministers and the acting ministers has performed dismally. So I think overall, I would give that point to President Weah. Thank you.
Thank you. Let's come to the cabinet. And when we talk about the cabinet, I'm talking competence. I'm talking how diverse they are. And I'm also talking integrity. We'll talk accountability. I mean, we're tired of this corruption. Let me start with Dr. Pearson. Let's compare the two.
Excuse me, Mr. Jack. Can I just chime in a little bit on what the brother just said? Just give me 1 minute. I heard him say that, Boakai somehow, President Boakai, him is somewhere in there in the cookie's job. The thing I have for all of that is, for me, I'm solution driven, and I think some of you are, if not all of you, and that's why we're here. What if the government had a digital system where any of that could be called into check and balances? For example, even if you had the hard and soft copies, there will be check and balance in finding who actually tamper with what. I mean, why is it that, my question, maybe anybody can answer, why is it that we have this thing from 100 years plus and still doing it manually? Why are we handling budgets? I mean, why don't we have a digital copy so that it will provide some signature or stamp, of tampering when somebody tampers, so that we know who tampered with the budget and stuff like that.
That's why you got a financial wizard. He's gonna face all of that. Gafon gonna face all of it when he come.
Yeah, but you see, there
Come
has
on.
to be a framework.
Gafon was there before.
Like what Thomas said, the better financial is genius, so you can be face all the thing waiting for it. So let's wait.
That was who said?
Thomas Connor, he said the better financial genius.
Can I just finish, please?
Yeah,
there
please.
Has to be a framework. If somebody can correct me, when I was listening last time, it said a Freeport collected, 7 million, and they gave the government. Why should the Freeport collect and then give? You should have some robust system, with check and balances, some digital system that when anything like that is happening, it's very easy to know what is exfiltrated, what is infiltrated, what is tampered with, who's doing what.
Right.
And stuff like that. Why would the Freeport, just out of free will, just collect something?
You collect it and it's left with your free will.
Yeah.
Your discretion.
I'm so confused.
Dr. Pearson, let's go to the cabinet.
Come on with a question. Repeat the questions again.
We want to compare the cabinet. When it comes to the cabinet, and when we say cabinet, we are talking about competence, we're talking integrity, we're talking their diversity and transparency. They are able to live up, protect and defend the constitution. The office that they are serving in.
Well, I think on that note, that's a difficult question to answer. It would have been an easier question for me to answer if Copper Cry was not a arrest warrant was not out for Copper Cry, as a arrest warrant is out now for Samuel Tue and others. It would have been easy to answer if there was no condemnation of the guy LTA, like there has been a condemnation of corruption of other weird ministers. So it's difficult. Look, they are all 6 and 7. Liberian people can say they are all 6 and 7. I don't think anyone is portraying any competence above the other. And I think what I would say here is that to be fair to CDC, even though I support Mr. Cummings, to be fair to CDC, in the last 3 years of the CDC, I saw a level of maturity in their cabinet that did not exist for the first 1 or 2 years when they were in office. And that it won't be fair to Boakai administration to use that against him to say that CDC had a better cabinet than him. But the little I've seen over the past 9 months, it's discouraging. I don't.
So let's compare the 9 months of Boakai to the 9 months of Weah when it comes to cabinet.
But then Boakai is absolutely zero, in my opinion. Boakai is absolutely. let me tell you why. Look, people. Let me look, Morris. I understand people came down so high and demonized the CDC administration, and you allow the propaganda for office. People running for office, so they lie, they exaggerated, they inflame information and expand it. Even when that's why they are struggling today. That's why they are struggling today. That's
Yeah,
why
but as an analyst who respect on this platform, you got to be objective at least. Let's be objective.
But
Evan,
how
listen,
objective do you want him to be?
that is the reason why the Boakai administration is suffering today, because they exaggerated the situation that brought them to power. So now they cannot show.
It was not just Boakai administration. It was Cummings also. The
I
ANC.
agree. I agree.
Right.
I agree with you.
So the opposition was not Unity Party alone.
Listen, the Unity Party has won the elections. They are governing, so they benefited from the propaganda that was spewed.
But that propaganda, ANC was part of it. I want you to say that.
Listen. If you recall, even your Papa Boakai testifying code and lie, they not know my Alexander Cummings from nowhere. That was another big lie.
Don't be hurt from the election to be objective. Be objective.
Alexander Cummings, your fingering document, Alexander Cummings did not finger. So I'm gonna tell you that people wanted to get to power, so they use every means possible. Now they want to defend it, and they cannot defend it. It's as a glaring fact, and I'm not gonna sit there and hide it. It's a glaring fact, and that was
Mr. Pearson. What is coming out is you have something against the Unity Party because of your Cummings connection, your ANC connection, because everything that happened, you say it was Unity Party. You are excusing the ANC because the same propaganda was being run by both ANC and the Unity Party and Liberty Party. Why is it that you are just pinpointing Unity Party alone?
Let me clarify something here.
Please do.
My stand-up there, Mr. Alexander Cummings, is very level-headed. Go back and listen to Alexander Cummings' critique of the Weah administration. He was level. Alexander Cummings will list exactly what he feels was concerning at the time. He was not saying it like the you people, we agree, and everything they wanted to say was inflammatory. No, it was not the fact. No, I disagree totally.
Thank you, Jimmy. Let's look at the cabinet. You've been around cabinet minister for so long.
You know, the cabinet is only as good as the leader. You have to be able to hold your chief lieutenants accountable. You have to provide them a goal and a measurable performance scheme. When you're not doing that, they too will be lost. So what I'm seeing today, I'm seeing a whole new breed of people, but they all appear to be simply awarded. They were awarded for supporting the candidate. I have not seen any outstanding performance thus far. The only victories I hear are when they solicit funds and loans, and it seems to be a victory. Man, people borrowing money is not a victory. What is going wrong with our people that when we go big somewhere, then we say, yes, we did something? When you turn an industry into a productive mechanism for the country, then you've done something. When you've changed the delinquency and the ability for children to go to school, when you turn that around and start producing doctors and lawyers and engineers by the multitude, you've done something. When you've revamped the health system that can care for people and take care of people, that we don't have the infant mortality. Now we got this other new disease they call monkeypox or whatever coming up. When you've accomplished those things, that's when you've done something. But all I hear, oh, we got millions of dollars from China. Oh, we got this one from that. Another begging scheme. We're not doing anything. I have no faith in this.
Is it better than before?
Better than before?
Or similar?
You know why I say is? I will tell you it's worse, and I'll tell you why. Because these people have experience. According to them, we didn't have experience, whatnot, and despite the inexperience they claim he had, he was able to hold the ship steady. We didn't see galloping inflation when all that exodus of money left with ECOMOG and all those other organizations. We didn't see that he managed to hold the ship steady. This This is commendable. Now we got all the book people, and all the boasting about is begging.
But who stopped we are from getting the book people? I want you to compare the cabinet and not based on because
they haven't done anything.
Right.
They haven't done it. They haven't been impressive.
Okay. Compared to we are.
Impress me.
Compared to the we are cabinet.
The we are cabinet kept the look. What are we talking about? We're talking about the quality of the cabinet. We're talking about corruption. You have to be a little more specific if you want me to address this.
Yeah. That's why I talk about the quality. I talk about the integrity, coming to corruption, declaring asset, all these things.
Well, yes, this cabinet is not following laws. This cabinet is thank you cabinet, and I got yet to see them impress me. Now, when you start making fundamental change to the economy and to the system and to the structure, the infrastructure of our nation, that's when you impress me. But until then, you have done nothing but sit in a position and get fabulous salaries.
And we'll come to salaries too. Mr. Colley, let's compare the cabinet.
Well, first of all, I don't know how we can measure competence. And I'm going to pick on the agriculture minister.
Okay.
I don't see how an agriculture minister will go to work in tie and suit. I mean, I would think he should be in rain boots. I would think he should have visited the 16 counties already, look for stakeholders. Let me tell you, if I were agriculture minister, what I would do. First of all, I would visit all the counties, go to LOFA, ask who has land, who owns land, who can produce certain hectares of rice. And so when I get all those stakeholders, put them together, I will tell them, say, hey, look, since you have this.
Why LOFA though? Why not Riverside?
Riverside. I said all the county. I just picked LOFA.
Oh, okay. I'm just curious. Go ahead.
Okay, Riverside. Let's say Riverside. And this farmer would tell me, say he has this amount of land, but he needs subsidies. So I would say, okay, because you do subsistence farming, meaning that you farm from one place to another, now we have a new technology that's called agronomy. I live in Minnesota.
So Mr. Colley, just before you proceed, are you saying the WIA agriculture minister did it and the Boakai agriculture minister
neither one of them did it, and that's what I'm trying to offer.
So it's business as usual. It's not better, it's not worse, it's business as usual.
It's business as usual, but if you just let me just a few more minutes.
Yeah, I just want you to hit it.
Yeah. So I will ask these people if they have land, for example, and then they would tell me, and I would provide support, like subsidize through the means of agronomy, and then tell them, say, if you produce 1,000 bags of rice, I will buy from you $20. And then for all the counties, I would take that rice to the market, and we'll have a government warehouse, and then we'll send that rice to the government warehouse. That will create jobs. And then we'll have marketing group that will market the product, push it to the market, whether it's worth selling it for $35 on the market. Instead, we'll have importers. You can bring your rice, you can import rice, but you have to compete with the government. And so you have workers, job created at the warehouse. You have marketing group, job created. And then out of that, I will have to find a scheme so I can find little amount, an escrow amount, and put it in escrow for that farmer's child so that he's motivated. Even though I'm taking $20 for bags from him, but I'm putting an escrow amount, which will be a voucher for his kid, maybe child or something like that to go to school. And a little bit from that, put in a escrow account for road, production, road pavement or whatever to do, road projects so that we can push those products or produce. Not only rice, I'm just mentioning rice. It could be plantain,
Thank you.
cassava and stuff. So as our agriculture minister, I'm in all the counties. I'm not in the ministry sitting there. I'm in all the counties producing this. And so now you tell me how it won't work, how we won't have food on the market. That is, the price is controlled. People have jobs. It might create 1,000 jobs for people. Just think about it, working in the warehouse, pushing a product from all the 16 counties and stuff. But yet he's sitting down. I believe part of the China package that we're talking about is for Chinese people to come make farm in your country when you know your terrain. Okay, so I'm just picking on him, and this could go for all the other ministers. I would say, let me say finally before you let me go, if the government can pay all ministers 50% and the rest 50% on commission, they will work. Because as an agriculture minister, if you were to hire me, I'm doing that. From my hard work from producing rice and putting it on the market, you pay me commission. The rest of my salary, 50% from commission. And you find people competing in ministries and working. But the fact that you're giving them 100% salary, you just, giving into being lackadaisical, sit down subpalmly, wait for government to pay you, and nothing measurable. We don't know what you're supposed to do. How your salary scheme is supposed to be, how it's supposed to be upgraded. We have no clue. And then we talk about competence. But I can measure that. If you don't produce the rice within 1 year or something like that, then I know you're doing nothing. And find your way somewhere else, and we hire another agriculture minister who is more plugged into technology and agronomy. It's right here in North Dakota. You can come there and learn it.
Let me start with Elvis on this one on sanitation. Just garbage.
Mr. John, Mr. John, Mr. Namwet, I didn't speak on this gone topic. Anyway, go ahead.
No, he's going between a different topic. It's not one topic.
No, because we are from UPP, that's why we're being alienated. That's why.
We didn't speak, not at all.
You will speak. That's why I'm coming to you. You will speak.
You talk about the cabinet, and
now everybody talking about the cabinet. We got more things to talk about.
Yeah, but I want to also.
Yeah, but I'm asking Morris on something. Elvis, let's talk about sanitation. Dead in the city in Iran. Is Monrovia cleaner now than before? Is it better? Is it worse or the same? And I'm talking about Monrovia and this environment, the metro Monrovia area, Painesville, Douala. The other places,
I would say slightly better. I think the government is doing slightly better, and I think they put a face on it. With President Boakai himself going out there, even if it was just for show. The police director, even though that's not his job, but at least they're going out there to show that they have an intention to clean and keep the city clean. Now, when you talk about sanitation, one of the biggest things that contribute to lack of sanitation or proper sanitation is congestion and overpopulation, which is a big issue that we have in Monrovia and its environs. The reality is the city is overpopulated. If you're ever going to put sanitation under control, you pretty much have to almost reconstruct the entire city with proper, plumbing and sewage networks and things like that. So I don't think it's just going to be something where you can go out and clean on a Saturday and keep that city clean. You have to put things. You have to put toilet in every house. Just the simple idea in this country that we have trash can, where we have to put our trash in the trash can and take it out, and somebody is going to be there to take it to the trash. I think that's almost foreign in a city like Monrovia. So a lot of people throw their trash outside. So you got people burning their trash outside in the backyard. It's very, very much an unsanitized city, and it's been like that since after the war. And I think for that problem to be fixed, you have to employ a lot of money, a lot of expertise on how to get toilets and plumbing in every household in that city, and then conscientize the people on the importance of sanitation and how it helps to improve their life and to prolong their lives. But I think just going there and doing load, shovel, and cleaning, the real work is done through education, telling them why it's important to keep your place clean so that bacteria and diseases don't get easily transmitted in such a congested city. And I think the president is not really focusing on that, and I don't blame him for it. Let me tell you this. I do not blame him for it right now, because the sanitation, our biggest issue in the country, no, not even in the top 10, I would say, even though they put it in their arrest agenda, but the reality is there's more pressing issues, and I think that's where they're trying to focus more so. But they put that S in the rest for sanitation. I think it's the last letter in the whole thing, right? S is for sanitation. Or is it? I know it's important, my man, but the point I'm trying to tell you is if the people not eating, the people ain't got medical care, they're not worried. I guess sanitation it can tie to the medical care as well, but I'm telling you, on the list of priorities, it's probably not at the top of the list. And as such, the president is not putting a lot of money.
If you sit down in the dirt, what will you put at it? Anyway, let me go to Mr.
It's not a top priority. That's what I'm
Mr.
saying.
Goodman, let's on sanitation. If you want to use your sanitation and talk about cabinet, go ahead.
Yeah, you see, when we're talking about cabinet, real quick, when every city you go in, when you talk about education, you can't just educate people. You and I have no trash cans, and we take out our trash. You know we pay for it. We pay for that service. You can't get. You have to pay for these things, and the government has to give you an enabling environment where you can work to pay for these things. Now let's look at the cabinet again. We're talking about sanitation. When President Boakai appointed Mark Jabate as Deputy Minister, Assistant Minister for Urban Planning, okay? Urban planning, when you talk about sanitation, that's urban planning. You take a man like Mark Jabate and you make him Assistant Minister for Urban Planning. That's supposed to lay out the city, talk about waste management, solid waste, all of these things. You take someone and just put them there. That's part of the cabinet.
Well, it shows you that it's not a top priority, Mr. Gaming. That's what I said.
No. We talk about cabinet here. We talk about they are all intertwined. This is the qualification thing we were talking about. Then you're talking about Mr. Francis Yimale, the man who was appointed as Interior Minister, a man who says, I kill people and I will kill again. You make that kind of person minister. The assistant minister there said he would kill a certain lawmaker, and he's still there.
Who's the education minister?
Huh?
Who's the education minister?
I said assistant minister. Mr.
No, I got you, but I said the education minister is another one. Don't forget to add.
Oh yes. Then we have
what the education minister did, Dr. Jaso Jala.
So, I mean, you have private schools.
Oh, okay. No, that's a different case. That's not okay.
Yeah, but let me just finish my thought.
So let give me finish because I thought you
yeah.
Okay.
So
yeah, you'll come.
Then we're talking about the central bank. The man that was appointed at the central bank owes the central bank $900,000 or $90,000 never paid. Then Gaffwan, that the Minister of Finance, are going to the Minister of Finance himself, owe $5,000 for the past 9 years. These are integrity things we are talking about the cabinet. Okay, if you talk about integrity, you're talking about confidence, you talk about qualification. People in Liberia think qualification is hanging degrees on your wall. No,
competent.
Yeah, when you go to
thank you.
When you go look for a job, they got boxes you check. And if you can't,
please, I beg you, let Mr. Gary borrow 30 seconds on my time. He's cooking right now. Let him cook.
Yeah, if you cannot check no boxes, like level 2 background check. Mr. Carter will tell you, Mr. Carter, you go to the bank and they do your background check. They tell you that you are a bank robber. They will never make you bank president. But anyway, that's how it is. Thank you.
Mr. Nabe.
Yes, sir.
Still on sanitation, and if you want to talk cabinet, let's focus on capital level integrity.
Well, quite frankly, I think much of what I was going to talk about the cabinet has really been expressed, especially
talk about sanitation then.
The last speaker from Jerome. I honestly really don't know how Monrovia is right now.
I even scrap that. Let's talk about the salary and benefit.
Yes.
Salaries and benefits.
So here's what I was going to say, especially when we're talking about the budget, right? I believe the budget really telegraphs the government's priorities. So this arrest, agenda apparently is just a bumper sticker. Agriculture happens to be the first letter in the acronym arrest. Well, how much was allocated in the budget for agriculture, right? Everything else, over 90% of the budget is going to salary. And this is where some of us are disappointed with this government. Because we really, when we say, no business as usual, these are some of the things that we had hoped that they will begin to address right away. I mean, look at this recent LTA saga that we're all talking about here, right? You have an individual who was the subject of the audit that the president used as a pretext for the removal of some of the members of the team at LTA. And then you leave another person in charge, Not only that, I mean, look at the amount of money these people are bringing, from the budget, And I don't know, even though he was out of the country when this news broke, but you can address anything from any part of the world. I haven't heard the president say anything about this. I don't know what he's going to do about it, but the gentleman is implicating the president directly. The press reports that he is saying he took some of this money and gave it to the United Party people. When is he going to say something about that? So in many ways, I think the budget and compared to the previous, I think it's more of a business as usual, if not even worse. If not worse. You know, how is it that a country such as Liberia, the president is going all over the place trying to find money when the money he's looking for, I believe, is right there in Liberia. He can get the money he's looking for. You go to China to bring what, $35 million, when the legislature alone is taking home what, over $90 million or so. You know, why? Why is it the cabinet? Yeah, the president, he cut his salary by 40%. I get that, but he is the president of the cabinet. He is appointing these people. How is he appointing these people to these people to these positions? They continue to game the system like they like the way they're doing.
Can I ask you a question real quick? Mr. Namwe, he cut his salary 40% of what?
Well, I believe his salary, not necessarily the appropriation.
Yeah, I know, but 40% of what? Joe, we did the same thing. He said, I cut my salary, and we kept asking, you cut it by what? What is it you cut it?
I think the president's salary is around 400,000, if I'm not mistaken.
Well, we don't know.
Hold on, Mr. Gabriel. Well, time is fast now. We don't want to talk too much. Let me go to Gabriel. Let's talk about salaries and benefits. When it comes to salaries and benefits, the entire government, how does the WIA administration compare to the current administration? Somebody called it criminalizing the state. You make it legal to steal money.
Here's the difference with the previous administration, WIA administration. They were flamboyant about how they went about it. This administration, they're more secretive. But if you can look at regardless of that, they're still the same. If you look at the budget, you will see clearly that, the previous administration and this administration are basically the same in terms of how they are allocating resources to recurring expenditure. The only thing that, and I think this is hopefully, and I know hope is not a strategy, the next president who comes in really prioritizes the civil servant people at the bottom of the economic pole, who like your police officers, people who work in these services as well, because these are the people who push the services, who provide the services that the everyday librarian receives, on a daily basis. But these people are being paid pennies on the dollar, 150, 200, 250, while you have representative people who barely pass any laws at all, making those quantum of salary, right? So for me, I think there is no distinguishable comparison in terms of the previous administration and this administration. So there's not really much to talk about. And they can say, hey, we're doing it this way, but if you look at the budget, it reflects the same strategy that the previous administration was doing. The only thing is, as I said, the previous administration, they were more flamboyant, and this one, they're more secretive with theirs. But if you look in the budget, it's more revealing. Thank you.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, if you are just joining us, this is Friday Night Debate. We are discussing change. Liberia under President Boakai, is it change for better? Is it change for worse? Or is it business as usual? If you want to join the conversation, the line is open, 605-313-6004. The code is 791403#. Please call that number and let's talk. So the last two things we're going to deal with, how are we managing our debt? In the past, and it's been a long time, right?
Mr. I have a question.
People lie. Hold on 1 second. People lie about debt, so they make sometimes the debt is even fake. But yet, are we paying our debt now?
But Mr. John, I think it's too early to talk about debt.
Yeah, one second. One second. So we'll talk about debt. Another thing we'll talk about now is dealing with the opposition. How does the government deal with opposing dissenting views, deal with the opposition. Are they clamping down on opposition? What are they doing? So those are the two things that we're going to talk about. And you're free to pick anyone to talk about as we compare. And we're trying to get our people to call. So while you think about that, we're going to take a short break and we'll be right back.
Our country, sweet Mandela, our country, that God gave all this country. Tell Liberia, that God gave all this country. We are calling on everyone here to come and pray for this country, Liberia, God gave all this country.
And the country we're talking about is Liberia. We are all Liberians. So let's talk about debt. Are we paying our debt? Are we owing more now? Are we being mindful of what we are owing? Are we still doing robbing Peter to pay Paul, digging hole, cover hole? You know, you go to somebody, you set up a fake company, and that company performs some services outside the procurement process and all the different things. Let's talk about debt, and let's talk about also dealing with the opposition. Let me start with Mr. Colley. You can pick any one of them, or you can ask a question.
I had a question, but then you brought a debt in.
Yeah, go ahead. You have two minutes. You can do whatever you want.
Okay, so let me ask the question first. Maybe somebody can educate me. Do we still have GSA? Because when you give the
yes.
when you get,
yeah, the answer is yes.
Okay, so the 45,000, is it given to the GSA or is given to individuals? Because I'm asking
it's
this
given
question.
to the legislature to buy their cars.
So how do you know they're going to use it for government purpose, or they're going to use it privately?
There's one guy, he uses to build latrine and hand pumps. So it's at your own discretion. I will support.
No, we're talking about the cars.
You're
talking about the cars. He's not talking about the development fund.
Yeah, the cars.
Yeah, the guy say he uses 45,000 for his car to build latrine and hand pumps.
How is that supposed to be? I mean, okay. So, yeah, that is ridiculous. Because
okay, so
even here in the States,
let's talk about the debt and also dealing with opposition.
Okay, so the debt, that brings me to what I was asking. How can you have a debt problem and then you give him ministers $45,000 to use the car at their own, just discretion. You just use it anyhow you want. It's not benefiting a lot.
I made that up. I'm not sure.
Okay, so when it comes to the debt, I think somebody was speaking and said this government could have generated revenue from the country, and we don't know the difficulties. There's no communication as to say we're trying to generate revenue and we have hiccups or this is the problem. But I can sit there and tell you few other areas that there are lapses in collecting revenue. For example, the private schools. How do you measure what is paid in the private school, especially for some schools that don't even pay their support staff or teachers? Second of all, how do you also measure people? You don't have forex. People on the street, exchanging money, going to Fuller shop, giving the foreign exchange to the Fuller people and stuff like that. Those lapses. How do you account for a store building that the guy says, okay, he's running the bottom part store, but the upper part he's using at school? Which one is he paying taxes for? And he rents that building as his house, or he gets it from the individual, whoever gives it to him. But all you see at the bottom is store, but you never know what's going on top of it. Whether he has international school going on or something else going there, nobody knows. you have, I said something to you, Mr. Va, from Burkina Faso, how the president is embarking on clearing the streets, and maybe you can share that. It's in your text. You know, he has embarked on a project of clearing the streets, and he's building market facilities so that people will register if you want to sell, just to make sure they have space on the street instead of peddlers just all over the place. Okay, when it comes to peddlers, does the ministry have people, at least these little things you sell, just go get a little card, maybe that's your tax you can pay, register as a peddler so that you're on the street, you are known as a peddler wherever you designated to be, pay a little money, and then you allowed to be on the street. We don't have, so you can generate money in so many other ways. It's like somebody was saying, we don't have the creative means. And as soon as people get into power, it's almost like they use up authority in a way that is abusive to the Liberian people, not engaging, not involving the Liberian people into like the stakeholders, you know, just bring their stakeholders.
Mr. Collier, I want you to come to the question. I want you to come back to the question. We're talking about.
So you're comparing two governments, right? Yeah. And that's why you want to be in the answer to.
Right. As we talk about the debt, or you can pick on dealing with opposition. So which one you picking?
So I was talking about the debt, and that's the reason why I went kind of off tangent. I'm sorry, but it's just a lot of talk about the Liberian thing. So the debt right now, I don't think we'll be able to deal with it because we're adding on to it without even knowing how we can pay. Because the money that right now they borrow, I'm telling you, it'll soon be gone. That money, if not already gone, it'll soon be gone. Because once you have the wrong people who don't know what to do, I'm not saying all of them, but I guess majority, you always agree, majority of the people over there don't know what to do, maybe as yet, the money will be gone. It will be the banking system.
Thank you. Let me bring you two callers, and then we can continue. I don't want the callers to wait too long.
Okay.
Mr. Darling Warwood, you are live. Go ahead. Go ahead, Darling. You are live. Yes, sir.
Yeah, thank you for having me. So, like I've always said from the onset, I had no expectation of this government. Boakai has no plan. He never had one yesterday. He doesn't have one today. He will not have some tomorrow. During his campaign, he said the country was in an emergency room. And I now understand why he meant. I think they were in an emergency room. They were in financial emergency room. Because as they came to power, all they care about is to pay themselves. And the Liberian people are left to fend for themselves.
How is that different from the previous administration?
Here is the problem. We know Mr. Weir and his folks, a lot of them were all educated, but they're semi-literate.
Come on.
They were inexperienced. They didn't know better. Joe Boakai had 45 years of experience in government. So we can't even make that comparison. People have so much expectation. People who don't understand, who don't know Boakai, they expected a lot from him. I don't. I never did. Because all I remember of Boakai is collecting salary and benefit for the last 45 years. That's all he did, collect salary and benefit. Boakai has no record of solving any problem whatsoever. So, like, I'm not disappointed because I was not expecting anything.
Thank you.
And then the key into power, all they've been doing is one scandal after another. And they said, show me your friend, I will tell you who you are. This man right here, man, is Professor Grisby. Are you kidding me? Professor Grisby? Why is he afraid to employ John Molu and Kewan Gonglo? These are people of integrity. He went all the way to Uganda to bring Gafon to serve as foreign minister. Gafon already went. Molu is right here. Why not Molu? Oh, they are afraid of him because of check and balance, because of he's not corrupt. He has not been corrupted by the system because he doesn't speak that language of corruption. Why is he not employing? Why is he looking for somebody to serve as a commissioner for war economic crime when Councilor Gongo is right there? Man,
thank you.
It's a sad situation. And Liberians are good at resuscitating financially dead people. Boakai was financially dead. They resuscitated again, befitting retirement. George Weah was financially dead. He resuscitated him, and today he's one of the richest men in Africa. So y'all keep resuscitating people.
Thank you.
Y'all keep on.
Thank you. Let me go to Flomo Livingstone.
Yeah, Mr. John, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, man, thank you for the show. Look, Mr. John, man, most of the panelists, I believe they are not informed. And I know usually you give them the talking point before the show starts. But the new panelist, I don't know, his name is Connie. He just makes inform the public that the Minister of Agriculture hasn't traveled to Bureau Counties. That just showed to me that he doesn't even follow the Agriculture Ministry. Why would he just say something like that on TV?
I mean, tell your own. Leave Collie alone.
Talk your own.
I was talking because he's a panelist and he's talking how to do what he's saying and he's misinforming the public. No, do some research before you speak on something like that. There are videos and pictures of him traveling in Bureau Counties, checking Bureau farms. So you can't come and misinform the public. We should stop that. Look, for me, the government is doing well than what the previous administration did. And I don't want no excuse. No one can. No, the corner can say that CDC were not competent, but why they took the job. And I understand why Mr. Pieke supported CDC. He said CDC did well, but he supported Mr. Comey to be president. How would you say CDC did well, but you want Mr. Comey to be president? I see why Mr. Comey got 1%. Because people like you guys will come and get his message. And that just showed to me that you guys did not do good work for Mr. Comey.
Watch this.
Emotion.
Thank you.
Watch it.
Emotion with CPP. And you're tough for now the judgment day. Mr. Comey will not win anything because if he relies on people like you guys to propagate a message, it will be a wrong message. And the president is doing well. He came in, he gave, when he came back, he gave the country what achievement he did. And we should wait until next year. I mean, the president said,
right. Thank you. We have to wait because if you come from hunting and you say you killed deer, nobody should argue with you, but let them wait to look in your white pan butter.
That is different. All the agreement is not just work like that. It takes time.
That's what I'm saying. So we'll wait. Because the woman will cook. We'll see.
Mr.
John. Yeah, we're looking at soon. When we see
Mr. John, can I just say one? Mr. John, let me say something.
Yeah, one second. Yeah, let me bring you, just write it down. Let me bring you our last caller here, Mr. Houston Brooks. Houston Brooks is a serviceman.
Yes. Hey, greetings to you, Mr. John, and to all the panelists. Mr. Gaiman, Mr. Morris, Dr. Pearson, Mr. Eastman, Mr. Carter. But look, man, Summer Livingstone, like he was ready on fire. Hey, Mr. John, the caller, the previous caller before Mr. Livingstone, look, he said everything I wanted to say. He stole the show. Now, we all know, we know that there hasn't been any really tangible or milestone or barometer we can put our finger on since the Boakai administration came to power. And I'm telling you, so for me, it's business as usual. And perhaps in some areas, they're even worse. They undermine their own justice system. The justice system is not perfect, but there was a due process. They undermine their own justice system. The free Gloria Musu Scott. I'm going to leave that right there. I'm not even going to go into that. But I think one suggestion is I have friends, right? I have friends that went home since Boakai came to power. The Liberian people themselves are doing what they can to change the landscape of Monrovia and Liberia as a whole. I have friends that are starting businesses, and the best thing the Boakai government can do is to get rid of some of these loopholes they have that make things so difficult for young Liberian entrepreneurs to go back home and do what they can to help improve the country, because we cannot rely on the government herself, exorbitant salaries for their ministers and director generals, and what they travel overseas. What do we expect to get? Begging for handouts? So no, for me it's business as usual, and Yeah, happy to be back. I've been traveling a lot, but I'm back down in Hawaii. So I'll be following you more closely from now on.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right, thank you, sir.
Mm-hmm. Gabriel, you were on the floor, right? Before I bring in the last caller, and let me remind our viewers.
That was Coley. I think.
Let me
Coley
remind our viewers to donate to Focus on Liberia right now. We want to keep the lights on. Our reporters are doing a tremendous job in Monrovia. We need to move some things around. So if you can, please donate to us. We also have our history channel that needs some help so as to be able to do the kind of research that is needed. The history channel also is partnering with the Liberia Leadership Academy that needs some money to keep young people to teach them civics and ethics, ethical citizenship. So all that, if you can, man, just give us some money. You could be $1,000, it could be $2,000, it could be $5, it could be $10. Our cash app is or Zelle is 651-392-6220, or you say $ FOL Media. Gabriel, let's talk about dealing with the opposition. How is that going?
No, Mr. Colley wanted to respond to Flomo Livingstone, so please give him the chance.
Sorry, Mr. Colley, go ahead. No, you didn't know what he was going to say. Mr. Colley, you had something to say?
Yes, I just wanted to say that I do appreciate the caller coming on to debunk what I said. But again, he missed the context. So I just wanted to say appeal to those listening out there that many of us or the panelists here are people who really trying to help towards solution. I don't think it should be like us against them. So when you come, please be saver. Don't come on the show lambasting and trying to act as if somebody is trying to, cause problem. No, he sounded a little bit impulsive, and that's not. Many times I see Liberian we try to attack each other, but let's be very cordial, in our approach.
My man, you new to this space. There's no cordiality here. Everybody going against you. You gotta get used to it.
That's his point. Let me bring you our last caller here. That's Mr. William Jala. Mr. Jala, go ahead.
Hi.
You have a minute.
Hi, Mr. Jala. Thanks for having me on.
Mm-hmm.
I call to respond to a specific concern that a specific lie that Jerome gave me, put on your show tonight. And as a matter of fact, he always telling lies, giving misinformation to the Liberian people. And I'm kind of baffled that you don't even call him out on most of those lies that he tells your audience, your value audience. It's so annoying that someone who proud himself to be a credible source, a credible person, who just indulge in telling lies all the time. I think he has so much appetite for telling lies.
Okay, what is the lie?
Okay, just get to the point.
He has issue with telling the truth.
Let's get to the lie.
Get to the point.
My issue with him is he just told the audience a lie by saying the now
$5,000.
Minister of Finance and Development Planning owes $5,000.
That is true.
He paid the money that they put him in trying to say the man paid the money. He stay owing it. Like what he want correct.
He said, Gafon of all persons who just walked away from his job as country director with residence in Uganda to come and serve his people. And you have Gerald Goodman sitting on that show with his bull-faced lie.
Mr. Jala.
They got crying for Gafon Bene. It's true, my man. The man owed the 5,000.
Hold on, Mr. Jala. According to the audit report, Mr. Gafon was owing the central bank $5,000. That's what the audit report revealed.
And Mr. Gafon did not resign. The thing was over.
So your point is he's feeling pain.
Why is Jerome Jimmy sitting on the show tonight and still maintaining, claiming that Gafford owes $5,000.
And
But you
you
got
are
proof that the man paid. You got proof that he paid.
$5,000.
and
Come on,
you are
Dennis,
saying the man
can
never.
we please?
Okay, just say that the man paid, my man. Just say he paid.
You want that
So,
job?
but you're taking it too personal, Mr. Jala. I mean, he's sounding like you're almost crying.
When did he pay?
Why is he still continuing to say that this man owes when he
Dennis,
doesn't
come
owe?
on.
He doesn't owe any more than what you are
Is
saying.
there any level of professionalism? Is he exhibiting any level of
The man said the man owe. He owed the
Integrity
central bank.
part here is
He
that he
said he
paid when
paid
he
you. He
needed a
just said he
job.
owe.
He paid when he needed a job. That's the
Thank
problem
you.
with that. He paid it when he needed a
Thank
job.
you. Thank you.
He does that all the time. He lies. He comes out
Oh,
and
The financial genius from
Come on,
Lofa
can we move
Saria
on, Dennis? Please.
will not attack a man no more. Will not attack a
Thank you.
kinsman.
It's not
Everybody
about
dresses their
Kingsman.
own devil.
No, because the man almost, Mr. Jai, the man almost to tears. He almost crying for Gafon Benin.
Yeah, let a man cry, man. Everybody can get a person to cry for. All right, we are out of time. It's 2 hours on the dot, so we're going to conclude. Let's go around the room and close the deal. Thank you, gentlemen, for the time. And I listed the dealing with opposition and also debt. So if you want to conclude with that, or you do a summary of everything we've spoken about, or you just pick one of it, you have 59 seconds to do that. Dr. Pearson, let's go. You're closing.
Yeah, I think I want to just focus on the opposition because that is tantamount to our.
Then focus on it. Don't give a reason why you are focusing.
And the thing here is that man, you finish taking 30 seconds from me already.
Yeah, because you're taking away your time. Just focus on it.
Give me chance. That I'm picking up. I gotta pick up speed.
Oh, okay, that's true.
Yeah. So and the reason I take on the dealing with opposition because it is related to our peace and security. And I think in our emerging democracy, our fragile democracy, we should continue to keep our
what make our democracy still fragile?
Huh?
I said, what make our democracy still fragile?
Because we got some dictators in the making. All right. Okay. Somebody who was running the government, breaking all the constitution, all the rule of law, and you don't want to follow the rule of law. I don't want to. You see, you picking my mouth now, and trying to make me to look undiplomatic. And I'm saying different things. I'm saying I want us to just focus on the fact that we should. I just want to encourage our guys out there to ensure that this democracy that we're trying to build in Liberia requires us to have a participatory governance system. And if people are not in government, another way they can participate in government is to be in opposition, and that they contribute by the criticism, they contribute by the contributions, and they contribute by being active in our political space. And so we should not do anything that we saw trying to besiege the CDC headquarters, or trying to politically motivate situation to get them evicted and other. I know these things they will try, but they will not succeed. Trying to strangle people so that they're not vocal on social media, trying to blacklist media institutions in the country. Those things will not help our democracy. Those things are going to pin us black out there, and it's going to impact our scores on democracy and freedom and those different reports that we're looking forward to seeing in 2025. And so if the government is not careful, our report is going to be very bad.
Thank you. Mr. Morris, you're closing.
All right. Thank you, Mr. John. Look, let me say this. Mr. Boakai, if you're in America, you'll be a staunch conservative. The old man don't like change. He bringing everybody that used to work on the Ellen government, he bringing them back in his government. His first finance minister are somebody who worked on the Ellen. His second finance minister, the same thing. Most of his cabinet ministers are people who are working government before. Some of them in the same position. So he's a quote-unquote conservative.
But what are his policy position? What is his policy position? And not because he bring it back.
Yes. So my main point here is...
Man got 59 seconds.
Yeah, my main point here is on the opposition. Now, why you see I put my peace-loving sedition on there, because like the last caller who called, somebody who is so emotional, somebody who is on the brink of tears because somebody is impugning somebody that you hold in high esteem. You think people don't love George Weah in that same manner when people come and talk about him in reckless ways, or when his government is going against the CDC? The little thing that going on with their property, I don't care about that because I don't think it's the government direct, handprint on it. There may be some judicial stuff, but when you're going after the CDC is important for the stability and the peace of the nation. People love the political institution. They love some of these personalities within these political parties. So you got to be mindful how you handle them, so that this country, even if we don't go to war, but it can cause the instability in the country, riots and violence, and we don't want any of those things. So I think my clarion call again to President Boakai is to try to temper down the rhetoric, try to tell the police not to handle these political institutions, especially those in the opposition, with too harsh a hand, so that the country don't devolve into even more sectionalism than we had during the election. So to the last caller, we sorry if Mr. Gimmin said something that you thought wasn't true. Do a little more research. You will find out that Gafwan did owe $5,000. I know for you, a man of his character should not be owing any $5,000 because he's making so much money. But he did owe the Central Bank of Liberia $5,000, and hopefully he's paid that money back. So thank you for having me on. It was a great show tonight. Glad to be on.
Thank you, Jimmy. 59
Yes,
seconds.
thank you.
Let's stick to that.
I only need 59 seconds. I'm gonna use what my younger brother, Mr. Morris, did. You know, there is something called tribalistic democracy. That is what you see in America today. I will vote for you because you are Republican. I will vote for you because you are Democratic. That's tribalism. I will not vote for you because I believe what you say, so. I will not vote for you because you stand for this. I will not vote for you because you want to change this. No. I will vote for you because you're Republican, or I will vote for you because you're Democratic. Tribalistic democracy. If we don't be careful, tribalistic democracy will permeate the Liberian democracy. We'll either be voting for somebody because they are seditions or they're because are Europeans. Is that who you want? You have to have somebody who will change the system for you tomorrow, who will make your children be able to benefit from the resources of the country, not business as usual. Let eat the money, and 80% of the people suffer. That has been the status quo, and that is what they will continue if you allow them to. No, do not allow people to convince you that your vote is only to put them in power, not to benefit yourself. Remember that. I'll leave it right there.
Mr. Colley, you're closing. 59 seconds.
Yeah, obviously the other people have 59. But I agree with everything that everybody said. And I just would like to say that I think it comes to how we started with communication. And if we're not careful, we'll be doing what I would coin community talking. And that is terrible, because if we are community talking and not communicating, I think it's one of the reasons why the guy coming screaming about Jala and the other guy coming taking exception about the labor ministry and all of that. I'm from Lofa, and I started off saying that I'm apolitical. I'm Bandi. In fact, if it's anything, I should cry from Gafwan, but I would never do that because I don't believe in that. I don't believe in sectarianism. I don't believe in sectionalism. I don't believe in tribalism. I don't believe any of that stuff. I'm a technical person. And so if you're to put me in an arena, I will assess based on professionality and what is required, what is in scope to do. And I think all Liberians should focus on that. And the last person that spoke very well, and I think Morris also, he kind of buttressed Morris's point, and also the gentleman with the PhD, I can see his name very well. They all spoke the same language. Let us stop this whole thing about
you can see a PhD, but you can see a name.
Yeah.
No, not derogatorily. The brother name, I can see it all the way on my level down there. So I can see it. Let's because
don't worry, Flomo had my name.
And then the last thing somebody said was the conservatism. You see, that is stuff. So imagine if I even went to finance ministry and propose any digital system stuff. Once the president is from the old school, from the old system, there'll be hiccups. You see, so this whole thing about, putting people in who know you is also creating sabotage. I will tell you this, then I'll leave. I remember a few years back, there was this bank, I won't call the name, and my in-law talked to one of the guys at the bank, to put in some parameters, or system, that would help secure. So I had seen some stuff online about the bank and pointed out about people name, checking. It was very easy to, do anything. And so I called him and told him, tell this guy at the bank, hey, here's everything here. He needs to do something. And they talked to the guy. He said, okay. I said, but I can help. Maybe come and help put some security apparatus in place. Huh?
I said 5 seconds left.
Okay, 5 seconds. And so the guy finally, fast forward said, hey, he came back and said, it's a good idea, but my manager said he won't allow it because there will be checking balances and he will not get it chopping. And so stuff like that's really cause setbacks. So first, I want to say, let's communicate very well and don't communicate talk. Let's stop these partisan politics and let's be loyal to our country and help our people. Some of us are fortunate, we have skills, we have learned little things. Let's lend that to our country without having to stay in the way and use and exploit their vulnerabilities. Thank you so much for having me on the show. It's my first time, and I look forward to coming back.
Thank you, Mr. Carter.
Yeah, Dennis, thank you. I'll be very quick. I will close with this topic. I know we didn't talk about it. I want to talk about the debt. So we are treading in uncharted territory when it comes to our debt. I think we're currently at 2.3 or 2.4 billion dollars, right? And as these trips that we go on, we continue to accumulate more debt. These are not free money that these governments are giving to us. We have to pay for it, or our children or grandchildren have to pay for it. The good thing about this is that if this government was serious, we are entering or about to enter, as a matter of fact, next week, we're about to start a new economic cycle globally. The Fed will end up cutting rates and gradually continue to cut rates. If this government is serious, they will start preparing themselves to restructure their debt to reduce the interest payment on that debt as we speak, right? So they will start preparing for that. But I don't think they're doing that. They're not focusing that. They're bent on accumulating more debt. The next president who's going to come in is going to have to deal with that. But these are not things we're paying attention to, right? And so for me, I think all this excitement that we're having in terms of the president traveling to China and all these places, getting all these commitments, these are not free money. We're going to have to pay for it. So I hope, and I'll keep saying this Minister of Finance is some wizard. I hope he looks at that debt, put up a plan to restructure it as we enter this new cycle to make sure that he lifts the burden on our budget so we don't have too much interest payment in the next year to come or the next time to come. So I will leave it on that. I know we have short time. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. Mr. Gilman.
Thank you very much, Mr. John. To the man who called, when we talk, he thinks that we are not reading. When Mr. John talked about Firestone, I ordered the book and questioned exactly the topic. When I interviewed Mr. John on the issue in Liberia, I ordered his book and we discussed them. When they were talking about, there was an international warrant for tour, and the Unity Party was all over the place. I got the documentation. The criminal code C said there is no international warrant for the man's arrest. There's no Interpol. That was a lie. So, young man, when we are talking here, we don't just talk because we want to talk. We quote authors, we quote articles, we quote professional folks. So I have the audit here. The audit report said the man owed $5,000. You don't even have that information. If he pays it yesterday, there is no documentation, not even from Mr. Geraldine Pia to say the man have paid. So we know he still owes that money. But anyway, the opposition, President Weah, we saw this year. The first time when President Weah took power, 2 months into his realm, we have protests from everywhere you can think about, and nothing happened. Today, the CDC have been hounded. As you can see, yesterday the president, 2 days ago, they had their youth day, and they converged onto the party when it was time for the president to speak. The electricity in a whole compound was cut, and it created chaos. And they contacted LEC. LEC said they have no clue who did that. Of all the buildings and businesses on our boulevard, only that particular compound, when the president was about to speak, is here. So we are talking about things that are well documented, and people sit here and still want to argue because it is emotional for them. It's either they're a tribal person or somebody to whom they are related, and they don't want to hear the truth. But this is the truth. Opposition is being squeezed. I mean, why were the president about to speak and the entire compound electricity is cut? So we are saying that
you heard that Africa was cutting our light, right? So maybe that's part of it.
Yeah, I know. So what we are saying here, when we are discussing these things, we will not allow anybody to come here and impugn the reputation of this organization. Like we just talk from the top of our head because we don't like certain people. No, if it's written, we say current event. If it's written, we're discussing.
Thank you
very much.
Thank you, Mr. Nabo. You have the last word.
Hey, this is good so that I can clean the plate, all the other little pieces that they left on it. I'll take out of it. But listen, I was out, Dennis, last week. I was traveling. I believe last week the show was devoted to appreciating you for what you and the fellows do here. So congratulations. FOL is because of what you guys do here. We remain the number one, as Elvis would say all the time, most independent platform, no bias, no spin. But listen, I agree with Gabriel. I think our total debt right now is around 2.4, like you said. Of that, I think 1.3 is external debt. You know, I heard Senator Amara Cunning saying the recast budget they sent back to the president, they were able to convince the IMF to postpone servicing the principal on the debt and just pay interest. And by that, they were able to identify $45 million and increase the budget by that. I was shocked by that. I heard the president went to China. I think he was able to get $6.6 million wave, you know, and so they have to be careful how they go out there and what they are going out there for. I still believe there is a lot of money in country that this president, if he's serious enough, that he could harvest. B. Martin is over there taking out millions and millions and millions unchecked. The president came out, expressed rightful indignation. The people promised, not even paid, promised to spend $200,000, and they let him off the hook. I think those are the kind of things the president needs to look to. Why is he signing off on a budget that will buy $45,000 car for each of the legislators? Why? In addition to the $150,000 each of the senators is getting, on top of the $240,000 they make per year. Why? So I think he should really try and save on these foreign trips and look within. There's a lot of fat that he could save and apply the savings to developing this country. All of this money he's going to look for out there, it'll just add to our debt. When he leave office, our children and children's children will be paying this money back. On the opposition, I think the president really needs to wake up. He won this election with a thin razor margin, less than 20,000 votes. I don't think he has reached out ever yet to the opposition. I don't think he and Weah have sat down. Like it or not, Weah is the leading opposition leader right now in Liberia. He needs to sit down with him, and they should talk about how to move the country forward. Other than sending people to go and raise his camera, other that, I think it's untenable, it's uncalled for. I don't think he is even calling Ellis Cummings. I don't care what he said about the 1% or whatever it is. I believe the Liberian people's rejection of Ellis Cummings is a missed opportunity. I think Ellis Cummings would have done a wonderful job for this country. But I think the president needs to bring in the opposition and ask them to help. there's no shame in that. There's nothing wrong with that. They're all Liberians. The country belongs to all of us. But I think this exclusion and alienation of the opposition entirely, I think is not smart. So I thank you very much. I think it was a great show, Mr. Cully. Welcome to the show. I think your input tonight was phenomenal. I hope you'll come back again.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, gentlemen. I really appreciate spending the Friday night with us. I want to thank our viewers for watching. Always focus on Liberia, where we educate, we elevate, and promote all things Liberia. Please don't forget to donate to us. No matter how small it is, we really appreciate it. No matter how small the food is in your mouth, it can be in your mouth when you blow whistle. So any little thing you give us, we will really appreciate it. On this note, we want to
blow whistle. You chewy.
Alvin already blew whistle with food in mouth.
Go my chewing.
You can't blow whistle, man.
Okay, all right. You're not in touch with blowing whistle. Cool down.
We are all Liberians.
We are Liberians. Liberia is our